My name is Bob Schmidt. My special guest right now, Dee Snider from the band Twisted Sister. Got to ask you, Dee, first thing, what do you want to do with your life?
Apparently, I still want to rock because I'm doing House of Hair now in my 20th year. So it's clear. I think I make that statement every week.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, your music just transcends every. I mean, I'm a child of the '80s. I graduated high school in '87. So Twisted Sister was the band I love listening to. As a matter of fact, I remember when it was Twisted f***ing Sister.
It still is. That's it. This was our last year. We did a retirement run this year, and to the very last show. That's the battle cry.
That is fantastic. So I'm thinking back to my childhood and not even my informative years, and MTV's first starting off with with music back when they used to play music and have videos. How did you guys end up with having Mark Metcalf being your the guy? How getting him to play the same Animal House character for a couple of Twisted Sister videos?
Well, the idea for the videos were mine, and I worked very closely with director extraordinaire Marty Callner, who known for all the Aerosmith and Whitesnake and Cher, and pretty much he was one of the premier '80s directors. But we were his first rock video actually, so we worked very closely together. And I was telling him about the father and the type of guy he acted to be the father. And I kept saying, someone like the guy from Animal House who plays Niedermeyer. Someone like the guy from, I just kept talking about if we could just get somebody like Niedermeyer. And Marty finally said to me, well, why don't we just call him? What's he doing, working on a cure for cancer? He was like, to me, I was a huge Animal House fan. He was like a superstar. In all reality, he hadn't worked in a few years. So it was like $1,000 and a coach plane ticket, and they're flying him into L.A. But here's a little caveat. So he's arriving, and they're going to send a PA, which is the production assistant, to go pick him up. Uh-huh. I'm like, no freaking way. I'm picking Niedermeyer up at the airport. So I'm down at LAX looking. All of a sudden I hear him behind me. You looking for me, Mr. Niedermeyer? I'm like so excited. He never got the star treatment.
That's all. I went back and watched the video yesterday just to reminisce, and the vein that pops in his head and the spit that's coming out. What do you want to do with your? That's awesome.
Oh man, well that was that. Yeah, I want a rock video. That was he took it to the next level. I'll tell you. I talked about this in my book. Shut Up and Give Me the Mic. But now at this point, he's now become a little more known. The video was huge. Put him on a map again, really. So this started to cost us a little more for I Want to Rock, and he had a little more of an attitude. And he was out in L.A. partying pretty hard the night before, so he wasn't feeling great the day of the I Want to Rock video, and he had a huge blow up with the director just before that take, with the spits flying, the veins popping, in the classroom, and it really fed into the emotion of that scene. He was really spitting and screaming at the director, not that kid.
Dee Snider joining me from the band Twisted Sister does the House of Hair here on Classic Rock 100.1, celebrating 1,000 shows of House of Hair. I'm glad that we just started running you a couple of weeks ago, so I'm glad that we're finally on board. 20 years of doing the show. With that 20 years, Dee, what was the greatest moment when you're recording the show?
Well, actually, I always go with what I flash on first. Even though it may not necessarily be, when I answer that question, it may not be the greatest if you really thought about it, but then it just sticks out in your mind.
That's what I want. That's the answer I want, Dee.
Yeah, and it just sticks out in my mind was I inadvertently outed Ted Nugent as a draft dodger. Now, I love Ted, and he's a very proud American, and he's very outspoken. But I thought it was general knowledge that he had very dramatically dodged the draft, Vietnam War, and it became, here was this little thing I just mentioned in passing on House of Hair, and it became like national news. And so Ted calls me up and goes, "I need to be on your show. I've got to rebut what you just said." So I'm like, "Dude, I didn't mean to I didn't mean to do that to you. I just thought everybody knew this. And so he gets on the air and the show, and he denies it, and he says he was not 4F, he was a 3Y. So, and 4F means you're unfit. He went down there, he hadn't eaten, he hadn't bathed, and this was the thing, and he was, they said he was unfit for service. So he said, I was not 4F, I was a 3Y. I was like, oh, okay, all right, great, man, misunderstanding. I went and looked up 3Y, and apparently they had changed 4F to 3Y. During the Vietnam War. So he was just basically, just playing with words there. So, but I just remember like the news media. How's the hair? How does that cause a news storm? But it did for a short time.
Is it cool for you to still be known as as the guy from Twisted Sister, to be the guy with the big hair, with the the big makeup, the over the top kind of personality? It's the thing is, it's a couple things here. One, I consider myself to be the original hair farmer. As you talk about Twisted Effing Sister, well, there's a documentary that's out now called We Are Twisted Effing Sister about the fact that we existed for 10 years before the world found us in 1983 and 84. So 10 years, 1973. So there was no Motley Crue, there was no Rat, there was no Cinderella or Poison, and we were doing that hair and makeup thing throughout the 70s into the early 80s before anybody. So I consider myself the original hair farmer, so I see it as a badge of honor. I wasn't following other people, I was leading the way. So, that's, it's, like I said, it's a badge of honor, and hey, if you can do anything that is remembered 30, 40 years later, holy crap, you really scarred the psyche of the world if you do something like that. So did you have a degree in marketing then to come up with some of these ideas?
No, man, it was just young stupidity. We were carrying the torch for like that early 70s glitter rock of David Bowie and Alice Cooper, and we just sort of, when that thing went out of style, we just sort of said, well, we still like it, and we're going to keep doing it. The New York Dolls, all these early 70s bands. And so when people would say to us, but guys, it's done, it's over. And we go, well, we still like it. So we just kept doing it until it got popular again.
So who came up with your face design, the makeup? Who ended up making your face what it is? You know what I mean?
Well, my wife, Suzette, who I've been with for 40 years, and I met her literally days after Twisted formed, so we weren't even popular or anything. She was always pushing me to try new things. So, but at the same time, she doesn't want to take any credit for what I did with her ideas. Because she says, "Hey, that wasn't makeup, that was war paint." And she would say, "She tried some eyeshadow," and I would draw on these like crazy blue eyes. And she goes, "That's not what I was talking about." I go, "Well, I like this," So there was her saying, "Hey, why don't you try some lipstick?" and then me getting like crazy with it.
Yeah, and it certainly did stand out. What about the mole? I mean, you had the popular mole before Cindy Crawford did.
It's so funny you mentioned the mole. I mean, because some people have mentioned the mole. Very few people noticed the mole. I mean, and really that was a tribute to like the 50s, like the Jane Mansfield, the Marilyn Monroes. They didn't have it, but it was like a very 50s thing. And you know what the key with the mole, by the way, is? The mole goes the opposite side of where you hold your cigarette. So if you hold your cigarette on the left, mole goes on the right, and vice versa. Ladies, in case it ever comes back.
Well, now I'll know. But you just mentioned smoking, and through my research, because you know how it is when you're interviewing somebody, you do a little bit of searching and stuff. At the time, and I don't know if it's true anymore, no drugs, no alcohol, no smoking. Still the case?
Yeah, I never did until about a year ago. I started doing heroin. And
well, thanks for sharing. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, well, because now that all the other rockers are sober, I figured it's time for me to get high. No, I'm kidding. No, I was that odd, weird, I was that sort of an outcast, and if I'm able to read copy and do an entertaining show, it's because I didn't do those things. But here I was, this crazy wild man who didn't do drugs, didn't drink, didn't party, and I was more of a jock than I was a rocker. I was working out, I was always fit, and they would just look at me like I was nuts. And I would look at them going, guys, you do realize that life is a marathon, not a sprint? You know, I don't know about you, but I'm going for 90. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going for 27. I don't want to be in the 26 club, you know. Right. So, yeah, I never got high, so that sort of helped me keep my brain cells.
So with all the rockers that did in those days, was it really truly the sex, drugs, and rock and roll that I heard about in the 80s, or was that just kind of a fallacy?
That's so funny because I get asked that question a lot. And one thing, not being a participant, I am a great observer of the time, and the answer is yes, it's all true.
Well, because I mean, you look at it, because I've seen Motley Crue in concert a few times, and there's times that you can tell that Vince Neil was sober, and then there's the last time that I saw him where he was he didn't even know the words to his own songs.
It's all true. Well, it's referred to when you get to the big song and you stick the mic out to the crowd to sing. It's become known as Vince Nealing it.
Is that right?
Which is supposed to be, hey, you guys love this song, you sing it, which actually means I can't remember the words.
Oh yeah.
But in fairness to Vince, I've had my moments. But usually when that happens, I stop the song and say to somebody in the front row, "What's the lyrics again?"
Dee Snider joining me from Twisted Sisters. Got the House of Hair. Also, we got the Daily Haircut here on Classic Rock 100.1. How has the business changed, Dee, in the years? You mentioned in '83 when you guys started off to 2016, 2017.
It is changed insanely. I mean, on so many levels. We could talk about, the music business. We could talk about the radio business. We could talk about, even doing my show where, when I started 20 years ago, I had to make a trip into Manhattan, and it was there was a link between me and the West Coast, and this, uploading. It was a big deal. Now I carry around a portable studio that fits in my attaché case, and I do the show anywhere because, with over 220 stations, everybody has a different airtime, so I can't do it live every week. I have to record it so people can play it when they need to play it, So that technology's changed. And the music scene, well, hell, I just released a new record, a solo album with Twisted's retirement. The album's called We Are the Ones, and even that recording process, the idea of self-funding. The record companies are not the force they once were. Now, everybody's got a GoFundMe campaign or a website that they're supporting their own records and their tours. The fans are supporting it. So it's a very, very different world now.
I look at 80s rock because that's what, like I said, I grew up on and loved. And then I look at some of these younger kids that are out there, like a Justin Bieber or something like that, and wonder how in the hell can this kid even make it when he doesn't play any instruments, he doesn't have a personality, he's kind of an a-hole as a person, and and he doesn't have the. How does somebody like that end up making it? And you got these guys that are playing music and actually writing music and writing their own stuff and living the rock life, and they're busting ass to make a living.
It seems that you say people say records don't sell anymore, blah blah blah, but then you've got your Taylor Swift, your Justin Bieber, you've got those types who still or Beyonce for that matter, who are just selling records hand over fist and packing in. It's a sad state of things. I think it's reflective of the reality TV world. Even though I think that if people were to shine a light on any of these real rock bands out there, there's a hell of a lot more reality than going on with Justin Bieber. It's a sad reality. But because there's great new music out there, and I've got kids. They're grown. I've got a concert. They turn me on to a lot of bands, and I go to these smaller venues and I see these passionate young musicians, passionate fans that nobody knows about them. They're known by thousands instead of millions now. And they're as passionate as they ever were. They're as talented as they ever were. They're just not getting the exposure they once got. And
what do you attribute that to?
It's the change. It's the change in the music scene. It's the change in the public's. Public's. As I say public, I mean the greater public's. Interests. Like I said, you got someone like Jennifer Lopez, who wasn't even a singer. She was a dancer and an actress And then they said, well, we can make you, you're a dancer and actress, and, people are turned on by you, so we can make you a star. We can make you a recording star. And they just put the right package together, and they stick her out there, and she's on, like, her 10th album.
Right.
This is someone who never sang in her life. So it's just a sad new reality. The rock stars are dead. But hopefully that'll change in the years to come.
Dee Snider joining us on today's Talk and Classic Rock 100.1. I know that Donald Trump, that you were on The Apprentice, Celebrity Apprentice, and that he was using your song, and I've read that other politicians were using your songs as well in their campaigns. Dee, when somebody does that, do the politicians pay you for the use of playing that?
No, you don't get any. You get no financial remuneration. They don't. Like it's the equivalent of someone playing your song at well, you understand it better than the audience, or a radio station playing your song. There's a general fee that like a sports team will pay to play it in the stadium.
Uh-huh.
As long as they're not using it on a commercial, it's just they pay their fees and they do what they want. And the fact of the matter is, they don't even have to stop when someone says, I don't want you using their song. They don't have to stop. Okay. But they usually do because they don't want that negative publicity.
Well, look, it's like Rush Limbaugh plays, what's her name, Patti Smythe's song, the dun, 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 dun. And she hates him, and I think he does it just to kind of irritate her.
He used to play, it was Chrissy Hines.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Chrissy
that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
And I don't know if he still does play it, but I know that she made us think about it.
But so she got nothing. Why you get nothing? So I mean, are you still making money off of Twisted Sister's biggest hits?
Yes, I am.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, licensing is a very, very good thing. When you hear a song on a commercial or a movie or a TV show, that's where these classic songs, these heritage songs, make their do-re-mi.
Now, when you mentioned classic songs or heritage songs, got to ask about this. Is it weird now that Twisted Sister is considered classic rock or oldies radio?
Sure is. I mean, it's like it's bizarre, but that's just that's the path the stuff takes. But you wonder, so if we're classic rock, what's 60s?
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting mighty crowded in that classic category. I guess they call it heritage rock. Is that what we are? I don't know. I don't know where the names have changed, but they have to keep finding new categories because rock and roll continues on.
I was listening to the Oldies channel the other day, just flipping back and forth, and I heard Prince on there, and I was like, "What? Prince is playing on the Oldies channel?"
Well, I mean, on my new record, it's called "We Are the Ones." I covered "Head Like a Hole," and when my producer brought it to me, at first I was a bit thrown because this is a very new sounding record for me. And he goes, dude, that record was... I go, man, it's kind of new, isn't it? He goes, it was released in 89. I said, really? I said, is it oldie? And I said, I thought I was doing this new tune, new from 1989.
Right.
Head Like a Hole.
Dee Snider joining us on Classic Rock 100.1. Big news. I remember this like it was yesterday when it happened because my parents gave me crap because I listened to the rock. I was a rock and roller, and I always wanted to see Twisted Sister in concert. I never could afford it, so I never really got the chance to do it. But seeing you up on Capitol Hill talking to senators, and I'm like, well, see, look, rock and roll's not stupid. Look at this guy right here. Long hair, cut off shirt, walking in, talking to you, like you belonged. Was it?
Yeah. Well, they picked the wrong guy. They got the one sober one. This is what I'm talking about. They looked at me and said, "Oh, this guy." Well, first of all, I was the most recognizable face at that time, and then they figured, "Oh, this guy's a total mess. Let's get him in there. They're going to make an example out of me and make him laugh. I'd be the laughing stock." And then I went in there, and they're like, "Oh my God, the guy's got a brain." I said, "Yeah, you should have done your homework, idiot." So, I'm really that was a pretty proud moment, and a day doesn't go by pretty much that someone doesn't walk up to me in the street and just shake my hand and say thank you for that, for that exact reason. Because there's a bigger point there, just because you like rock and roll doesn't make you a moron. You know what I mean?
Right.
By any means. And there's a lot of smart rockers, even with the drugs and alcohol. You meet some people along the way. They're out there. So, yeah, I've over the years, and I've gone on to do other things and speak out for other people, and now at this point in my life, I find myself, like being called to step up for more and more things. Like I just shot a video at Standing Rock, where I went up there and because the big thing, I don't want to get too political here, but the thing that pushed me over the edge, and I'm not like an anti-big oil guy, by the way. I drive an H2 Hummer. But the media is getting squashed up there. There's actually a concerted effort to shut out the media, and that's First Amendment. You're just knocking on my door, pal. Censorship, bring in Dee Snider. But then Chris Angel, I shot a video for his cancer fund, and now recently a fan of mine, 13 years old, committed suicide, and and I was in her suicide note saying, "I hope Dee's not upset with me." It broke my heart. A 13-year-old girl's worried about Dee Snider being disappointed. So I'm going to step up the anti-bullying campaign. So I got a brain, I got a voice, and I got this damn song. We're not going to take it. It just seems to work for everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I went and watched. I watched the entire thing yesterday, just to, like I said, to kind of get refreshed on it. And when you walked in with your big hair, pulled the speech out of your back pocket, total great move, because every person that ever watched that, every dude anyway that ever had a speech or had to go do something, that's totally what it is. Piece of paper, pull it out of the back pocket, unfold it, and
Well, I was the bad kid. The bad kid, the teacher would say, "Everybody got your homework?" And when all the good kids would say, open up their folder or their notebook and take the page neatly out, the bad kid always pulled it out of his pocket and then tried to flatten it out,
right,
to make it look less classy, which is what I did. And that was a total setup. I said, then I walked in there, and I'm not getting dressed up. I'm not going to show my hand. I'm going to walk in as I am, who I am, and the way I am, and then I'm going to completely blindside them with the fact that, yeah, you think I'm on, I am anything but. If I wanted, I could have your job.
Right. Well, going toe-to-toe with those guys, that was fantastic. I did read, though, that you thought you lost your street cred after that because people want the rocker that lives the rock lifestyle. Do you feel that way still?
Long term, no. Short term, yeah. I was really disappointed because, here I'd always been who I was, but it was on such a grand scale, the exposure, as far as televised everywhere. And people got to see, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm married, I got a kid, I'm clearly intelligent, and a lot of fans were disappointed in me. I realized too that it's belching on the mic. I didn't have my belch button. A lot of kids, they wanted lifestylers. Mm-hmm. They wanted people who was effed up off stage as they were on stage. And I was like, and that really kind of disappointed me because I thought it was always about what you did on the stage, the performance. But apparently, they wanted someone who was getting arrested and being put in prison for drunken driving, which I'm homie, don't play that.
Right.
So I had to sort of wait, and I said, well, I'm going to continue to be who I am. And then as the years went by, people caught up to me, so to speak, and came to respect that fact of who Dee Snider is. And like I said, it led to my radio career, television career. I've been on Broadway. I've done movies. I've written musicals. I've had a long career because my brain cells are intact. But initially there was that little backlash, like, hey, this guy's like too smart for some of us.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at it, here's 30-some years later, and people are still talking about it. And I don't mean to, relive that stuff, but I do want to tell you that once the whole, record labeling thing went out, I was strongly against that. I started dating my wife in '89. We talked about when we became parents, I wanted my kids to call me Bob instead of Dad. Well, I appreciate that they call me Dad rather than Bob. But I also said at the time that, you know what, they can listen to whatever they want. But as a parent, as well as I do that you just, you may say that at the beginning, but then I way cut down on that, and they watch and see what they want now because they're older. But when they were younger, it's like,
well, you know what? My point was not that that we shouldn't have, but we shouldn't monitor what our children do. And I'm proud to say I've lived every single thing I stood for. In my entire life, we've raised our kids. Every word I said, my then 2, 3, whatever he was, year-old son, we have raised our kids. I just said it's the parents' job, not the government's job.
Amen.
And and I went, and as I said, I listened to the music. I remember when that Eminem record came out with Stan on it.
Yep, that's
and
a good song.
Yeah, great. Well, my 11-year-old son wanted that album, and there was some stuff that was very questionable on there. I listened to it. A, not only become an Eminem fan, but B, it created a great conversation between me and my son, and we talked about some pretty, at 11 years old, talked about some pretty serious things. But the point is, it was our job as parents. You know what I mean? And I totally monitor my kids. Hell, I remember when my kid brought my 10-year-old got Grand Theft Auto, and he says, "Dad, check this game out." And I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm running over policemen." I said, "Oh yeah, we're taking this game away from you now."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Clearly you don't get it." So but that's the parent's job.
Right. Dee Snider from Twisted Sister joining me on Classic Rock 100.1. Do we have time for a couple more questions?
Sure, and don't forget, host of the House of Hair.
Oh!
Now in its 20th year. Welcome to the fold.
Yes. 1,000 shows, going to be doing that soon. Also got the Daily Haircut running at about 12:35 right here on Classic Rock 100.1. So you mentioned, your wife a couple of times in conversation. You guys have been married a long time. How do you attribute?
We've been together, married 35. We've been together 40 years.
So what do you attribute that to? Because with Hollywood and rock and roll and all that, it's live fast, die young, and don't let things.
Yeah. You know what? I actually have had this. I've been doing radio a long time. I was interviewing Kevin Bacon. Kevin and Kira Sedgwick have been together for many, many years, 25 years, 30 years. And we were talking about the subject, and Kevin actually said, I don't think there's any more or less successful entertainment business relationships. You just never hear of the successes. So I started, keeping a list, and it's really, really long. I mean, even in the music business, Bono, who's 40 years, Alice Cooper in his 30 years, Angus Young, AC/DC, over 30 years, Bon Jovi, over 30 years. So they're out there, but nobody, it's boring. It's not, people want to talk about the crash and burn. So, but for people saying, well, you still said, what's the trick? It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And it's like that with any marriage, whether you're entertainment or not. It's a work in progress. Oh, by the way, I have noted that 99% of the successful entertainment business marriages do not live in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They live in Phoenix, in Jersey. They live someplace kind of semi-normal. They try to have a degree of normalcy. Like we lived on Long Island our entire lives. That's where we raised our family. We're from Long Island. That's where but it just keeps you out of that Hollywood stupidity.
Right. Well, my wife and I, we've been married 26 years, and people are like,
there you go.
How does it work? It's like it just works.
Well, then when they invited me to the grotto at the Playboy Mansion, I said no. And they said, no? I said, well, you might as well just sign your divorce papers as you enter the grotto because you're not coming out married. So it's like, hey, man, if you're an alcoholic, stay out of the damn bar.
Yeah. Dee Snider from the House of Hair joining me on Classic Rock 100.1. I did post that I was going to be talking to you on Facebook, and a couple people asked some questions. Is that all right if I just kind of run through these questions real quick?
Go for it, man.
All right. Bruce wanted to know, what birth order are you?
Oldest.
You're the oldest out of how many?
Out of 6.
Wow.
Which explains how effed up we are. My mom, this is back in the day when, people had babies like it was a competition.
Yeah.
So I'm at 6 and 8 years. So for one glorious year, I was the golden child, and then it was like, okay, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I don't remember my mom not being pregnant.
Right.
It was like one of those deals. So anyway, I need attention, and I'm getting it.
Well, hopefully you didn't do what I did. I remember when my mom had my youngest brother. I'm the oldest also, and she had my youngest brother, and 2 weeks later, I'm like, aren't you going to have that baby, or didn't you already have that baby? Never asked that.
Exactly.
Hey, as a 6-year-old kid, never asked that question. Debbie wants to know, Dee, did your daughter get to keep her trampoline? And I don't know what that refers
That's
to.
from a reality show, Growing Up Twisted, and actually, a company was watching the dismantling of her old trampoline on the show, and they contacted us and said, we felt so bad for her, we're sending you a new trampoline, because she was crying on the show because we threw out her old trampoline. So yeah, she got a new one.
All right. Mary said, who's your biggest non-musical inspiration, and what would you say to the 15-year-old Dee?
Wow. Our biggest non-musical inspiration. And again, what I flash on first, Mark Twain. I'm a writer and a reader, and just from his fiction books to his nonfiction books, the guy was so smart and so sharp and so insightful. Even though it was 100 years ago, I've learned so much from him. And the 15-year-old D, I would say, don't sweat it, dude. All your dreams are going to come true. You're just going to have to work for it.
Yeah, that's great advice right there. Will you give that same advice to your kids? Just work for it, and your dreams will come true.
You know what? I mean, my son, who's got his first album's out. It's called 16. He's been working a long time, and the business has changed, and it's still, it's still not happening for him yet. And so that's not necessarily true. But the one thing I do say is, if you give it all, if you put your all into it, at least you've got that. You feel good about it. All right, I got to make the last question because it's time for me to get back to the holiday season.
I got it. All right, last one. Mike Meyer asked, said that you guys were friends in Yorktown, New York, when you played at the Gemini. He just said to tell you hi.
Mike Meyer from Austin Powers? I love him. I didn't really even recognize him back then.
No, different Mike. Different Mike there. So this is Mike Meyer. He used to live in New York. Now he lives in La Crosse.
I'm just busting his chops. Actually, sure. I mean, I don't. You know what? I'm sure he's right. And who knows last names? Hey, I'm Mike. Hey, I'm D. What's going on? I mean, it was 40 years ago. So I'm sure. I remember Yorktown Heights, and I remember all those. And again, that documentary, We Are Twisted Blanking Sister, really covers and captures a lot of those club days. Michael really enjoyed watching that, especially if you're from that area, but you don't have to be to enjoy it.
Celebrating 1,000 shows of House of Hair. We got it running from 9 to midnight Sundays here on Classic Rock 100.1. What's the name of your new album?
New album is called We Are the Ones, and it is a very contemporary rock record. Think Foo Fighters, and you'll be more in line with what you hear. It's not an 80s hair record, but it rocks, and it just came out. So check it out, and check out my new video for the song So What, which is the one I shot up at Standing Rock. At a very dramatic moment, actually, in the confrontation that's going on up there.
I watched that video yesterday. The stuff at the end of the video gave me goosebumps. What's your website, D?
Our website, DeeSnider.com, and that's Snider like spider. It's not a proper noun, people. It's an adjective. I'm Snider than you are.
All right, let's go Christmas caroling, D.
How's I'm out there? The Griswolds are hitting the streets in New York. Take care, man.
Hey, Merry Christmas. I appreciate your
time.
Merry
Christmas to you, too.